Hey, this is Gregor from Hoodie. I'm preparing a little tutorial for the Rails Girls Summer of Code Team Rookies, which is who are working on Hoodie this summer. And we will be working with a storage API, so I suggested that I can create a little tutorial for them, which starts with just HTML and then uses local storage and then abstracts away the storing of data with a custom API. And I thought, why not record whatever I'm doing? So I started with this README file, which mentions the 3 steps, 1 to 3, and in the first step, we will just have static HTML. So I simply create a new folder here with my Atom, oops, wrong one, editor. So like this. This will be embarrassing, I'm sure, because, I did not prepare anything, so just follow along, see myself doing mistakes. I also have no internet here because I'm in some beautiful park in LA right now. Okay, anyway, so step 1. In step 1 I create a new file called index.html. Okay, I can close this now. In here I create some base HTML. I give it a title like local storage tutorial, step 1, and also put it in the HTML code. Okay, what do we want? First, a form element. So the form element needs no action and no method and nothing. The only thing we want to do it is we give it an ID so we can access it simpler later on. And we call it create, or yeah, let's call it add. Maybe add form. Alright, so in here now we add an input element with an ID name, and then a button type submit with an add. Okay, and we can maybe add a little break here. And next up, I want to create a table with a table row, and actually now let me create a table head. Oops. And the first one will be name, and then there will be others like maybe like, okay, let's say we do a contact form. So besides name, I want to have maybe city and just a note field. Okay. Maybe also, instead of city, I just give it a contact. And then a note field is, like a free text field, and we can put in everything. Okay. And now I put in first line, which is name, maybe Charlie. Contact will be charlie@sample.com, and note will be, we met at Peter's pool party in May 2016. Maybe let's add another contact, Sam, and Sam could be maybe a Twitter handle, and Sam is Charlie's partner. Okay. Let's see how that looks like. So I just open this one with Chrome because it has better dev tools. Let me make this a little smaller. Okay, so this is nothing interesting. I can submit the form and it reloads the page, and then below we have a table. Let's give it a little bit of styling. So first I add a new file and I call it app.css. What I like to do is not make this thing full screen, instead give it maximum width. So for example, maybe we can also give it a nicer font family. Helvetica Aria Sans Serif. And we can give it a background color. Let's say a light gray. And then for the body, we could give it a border and the background as well. So we make this white now, and then we give it a max width, let's say 800 pixel, and then we give it a margin, let's say 2 root ems from top and bottom, and to the left and right we make it outer, and we can also give it a padding inside. Okay. Oh, obviously nothing changes because we have to edit. So we add app CSS, we don't need all the other stuff here. Oh, no slash. Okay, so now we have our frame, and now let's work a little bit on the form and also on the table and the button. So I'm just making this stuff up as you go. So maybe you can add a border bottom. And maybe a margin bottom. And then the form, you can maybe just add the margin above and below. And for the input, I would say let's give it a display block, and we can make it with 100%. And also let's give it padding and inherit the font. And then for the button, let's say no border, also padding 1 AM, also font, inherit. Yeah, let's see how that looks like. Oh, okay. So now our input goes beyond, so we do this little trick where, oh my god, how is this? Box sizing, border box, exactly. Okay, so now the 100% includes padding and border width and so on. So we have the button here. Maybe let's give the button and border radius of 1 AM. And also the padding, shouldn't be everywhere all the same. Instead, it should be less on top and bottom to look good. So I just make like this, and I do the same for the input. Okay. Now for the table, let's say for both TDs and TH, border collapse and border 1 pixel. solid, and even lighter gray, and padding maybe the same as we have it above. And maybe for the TH we do bottom 2 pixels solid and maybe something darker. Okay. Now we want to have the table with 100%. And oh, I actually don't know how the margin works. I forgot. There is like some. Okay, I actually forgot how this works. So what I will do is, because this looks kind of weird, I will remove the borders to the left and right. So the border width on top and bottom 1 pixel, left and right 0. Okay, that looks a little bit nicer. All right. Now let's add some JavaScript. This is our HTML. I will add a new file with an app.js. I just added console log from app.js here. And this time I will not forget, I will add the script tag. App.js. Okay, and when I open the DevTools, I now see my console log right here. So that works. Okay, so what we want is, when we submit the form, add a new entry below. Actually, maybe let's add a placeholder in here. So, I know this is not very accessible, but we can also remove the break. There should be like a label and so on, but this is just, demo purpose. So, like this, and now we should also add some margin. Maybe like 1. Okay. So first I query the form. So I have the form tag. I have a reference to the form tag. I don't use jQuery, but I still use this convention with prefixing variables with a $sign, just because I'm used to it. Document query selector, and we called it add form, I think. You can check it with console log and just install the form. Yeah, that looks good. Okay, and next up, oh man, I hope I get this right. Actually, I can test it here. Add event listener, submit, yeah. Function event. Now the first thing that I want to do is event prevent default so that it does not do the page reload. And then I want to get the name, which is document query selector name value, I think. Let's check it out. Oh, do I have? What do I have it wrong? Syntax error in 9.6? Oh. Okay. test. Okay, I can press enter, I can press the button, it all works. Great. Okay, so now I will need to generate a new row, and I actually have to figure out myself how this works. So I have the table. And to the table I can append a child, which is okay, I know what I'm doing now. Alright, so actually we can do the same here. We just have one table, so query selector table will give us the only table that we have. If you would have multiple table tags, you would have to be careful, like give it maybe an ID or something. You know what, actually let's do that. So we give an ID to the form, so we call this maybe list table. Alright. Like that. Okay. Now, I think what we have to do is to create a table row with, if I remember correctly, is document create element tr. Yes. And then for the tr we just call, I think it's called, oops. Okay. TR text content. No. TR inner HTML, because we have to actually not only use text but HTML. And what we do here is we have 3 table cells. In the first one we add our name, and the other ones we just add like a, oops, not there. In the other ones we add a dash sign so that it becomes empty. And now we append our TR. Okay, let's hope that this works. Oops, not the form, the table. Foo bar bus. Okay, what you also want to do is to clear the input, so let's do that. We can have this, I think it's event target, I think. Value is empty. No. Let me add a debugger here. Test. Event target. Oh, because the event target is the form. Oh, but I think what you can do is call reset. Yeah. On it. So reset will reset all the values in the HTML in the form as they have been on page load. So that is good. And actually we don't need to use event. I think it's more readable if we use the variable we already have and just call reset on it. Alright, foo bar, and you see it now empties the value, so that is great. If we reload the page though, it will all disappear. Next up, we want to delete and edit contacts in the table. So I add another cell, and I will add 2 links to them. One will be, I give it a class maybe. Actually, you know what? I will give it in data. Actually, I like this little hack, which is edit and the other one will be delete. Okay, and we have to add this to both our rows. Let's see how that looks like. Oops. Okay, so we see them both here. We see that the border from the header ends too early. But you know what? Actually, that's not too bad, because these are not really it's not really data. This is rather actions, right? Okay. So I will nevertheless add a class actions here. I will, table actions. I will say that these have no borders at all. And also, just for consistency, for nicer UI, I can actually say call span 2, so the last cell in the header spans over 2 cells. So this way it goes all to the right. Oh, actually we should also align them to the left. I don't actually know why they align table cells to the center. I would like to know the history of that, but anyway, I always end up aligning them to the left. Okay, so now we have the edit and delete. Buttons here. So what we now do is we want to listen to these events. The problem is tables can actually, you know what, we do it step by step. All right. Let's say all our action links would be query selector all data action, and that should give us all our links if I am not mistaken. Let's see how that goes. Yep. So now we have this here, and I think that we cannot just walk through them now, if I remember correctly. Oh, we can. Let me check. Okay. Well, at least it works in Chrome. Should be good enough for now. So what we do now is action links for each action, and then action add event listener, click, then a function with an event again, and again the first thing we want to do is to reset the default, because we don't want the URL to change to set the hash. We want nothing to happen, and instead we want to get the action name and the current row. So let's say we have the action button, and I think it's called parent node. Oh wait, let me look it up. Let me see with the table. Parent element or parent node. Okay, I think there is some difference here, I don't remember, but anyway. So I would just use parent element. So the parent element of the A tag is actually, did we already have the closest? I think we have. Okay, this is simpler. So the closest method, I can pass in a selector, which in our case will be tr, and this will give us our row. I'll just call it row. And then let's log it out just to see if that works. And what we also want is we want to know the name of the action, which is, I think, just to access that data, we can do data set. Yes, data set. And then it's just action. Because in the HTML we defined data action, so this is what we get here. So let's do log both. Okay, we don't need this anymore. Let's see how that goes. Edit, delete, yeah. Wow, okay, I'm impressed with myself. Alright, so let's do the delete first because it's the simplest. So, if action is delete, then how do I actually remove an element? That's okay. I think it was pretty hard in the past, but now it's just remove. Wow, okay, man, this became so much simpler. Okay, so row remove, and that's it. Oops. Oh, remove. Okay. Alright. Oh, so here we see when we create a new one, we do not add the actions. So this is something that we have to fix next. Let me go to the HTML. I just copy this part here and append it, and I just will put it all in one line. Sake for simplicity. I mean, we could also actually we could use template strings here, but whatever, this will do. So now if I create a new element, the links are here. I should just add a space, I see. Okay. Actually, I also don't want them to have a line break in them. I think it's nicer to not to have it. So let me just go to the CSS and say that actions have white space, no wrap. Okay. I also want to align them vertically to the top. Vertical align top. Okay, that looks good. Whew. Okay, so we have our deletes. If I create a new one, it has the actions, but the delete doesn't work. Why doesn't it work? It's because we assigned the event listeners on page load, and we now add dynamically this row later, so it doesn't have the event assigned. So what we have to do is to delegate. Alright, so what we do is, instead of getting all action links here, we actually add an event listen to the table. So add event listener, click, function event. Let me move this down, and again we want nothing to happen in the beginning. And now let me log event target, and there is another thing I think which is called current target, if I remember this correctly. Oh my. Let me comment that stuff out down there. Okay, let's just see what happens. If I click anywhere in the table, first it clicks the target that I clicked on, and then the current target is kind of the DOM element that I assigned the event listener to. Alright, so when I click on delete, the first one would actually be the link, the second one will be the table. So this is exactly what we need. So pretty much the same that we have below, only that action is event target. And for the rest, I think we could just reuse it. Um, okay, and we also need to get the action, which we also have here already. It's a bit confusing with the names. Let's maybe call it link instead. Alright. Let's see if that still works. And now if we add a new one dynamically, it still works. So that is great. Okay, for the last part, what we want to do is when I click the edit button, I want all these to be replaced by inputs and the action items to be replaced by buttons. So this will be a little bit more complicated. Let's see. First of all, because I will need this anyway now for clearer code, I will replace this one line HTML thing with template strings, which are backticks and allow us for multi-line strings. And then what I will do, I will simply copy all these. And now we have this beautiful thing where we can set a placeholder and just put a name, and then we replace the other ones. And I think that should be it. Let's try it out. Okay, so that works. Cool. Now, if we click if the action is added, then the current row in our HTML will be replaced with something new. I have an issue here. Oh, 1 equals sign too much. And instead of this, we don't have a name. I just make like test just to see if this works. Yeah. Okay. So what we need obviously is we actually first need to find the names and the contact and also the node from the current row. So what we want to get is okay, what we're gonna do is this. I think with like modern, ES6 and deconstruction, it would be nicer, but I'm old school. So query selector all td, and this will give us all the cells only within this one row, because we only look within the row. So, and now the name will be cells, the first cell, text content, and we trim it. And now what's the next contact? Is 1, and node is 2. And now let's see if this actually works. Let's just log it out. Okay, sorry for the confusion. Console log. Okay. Cool. So that works. We have now the content, so we can actually replace it. The first one is input. value, and the value is the name. The second one, the value is contact. The third one is actually a text area. Note. Okay. That looks good. And then for the actions, we now want to have a button which just says save. And then we want to have another link with data action cancel. Alright, that should be good. Let's see how it looks like. Okay, it looks a little weird. The problem is that our styling from above applies in here as well. So let's make some custom styling. First, this one has 0 margin. Okay, and now let's put the same style that we have to our input also to our text area, and then we also have to make it down here. Okay. And then maybe resize none. Actually, this is only for the text area. Resize none, and maybe min width because it's bigger. And let's be here, I don't know, 400 pixels maybe? This is too big. Oh, maybe it's okay. Okay, let's give it 300 pixels. Okay, this is not ideal, but it will do. Maybe let's give also a height of maybe 4M. Okay, 6M is good. Okay, we have our save button. Where's our cancel? I think I did something wrong here. Well, yeah. I forgot the actual text. Oops. Anyway, so now I can cancel. And obviously nothing happens. So let's do the save first. Actually, what I can do is also give it an action, because our selector doesn't care if it's a link or if it's a button. It's just for styling. So we call this one save, and then maybe instead of link here, we actually call it button. It's always a button even if it looks like a link. Okay, so if the action is save, then now we want to render our row like it was initially. Instead of cells, now we have inputs. So it's input.text area, and get the value. Okay, and then we have contact and note. Alright, let's see if this works. Yep. So the save works. Let's change the other ones too. 1, 2, 3, save. Perfect. Now we want to have a cancel button, meaning if I change this to 5 and click cancel, it should show 2 again. So we need to store the original values, which I think I will also store in a data value. Original with the exact same thing. And the same to the text area with the note. So if the action is cancelled, then instead of value we get data set original. Okay, and let's change it to 4, 5, 6, cancel, and it's back to 1, 2, 3. Cool. Okay, so what we have so far is we have a form which allows me to add a new contact with only the name. I have the table below which shows me, a few contacts already. I can edit them, delete them. I can also edit them. And there is also a cancel button. So this is what we implemented for the step 1. Now what we want is we want to remove the hard-coded contacts here, and we want to actually store data in the browser based on our inputs so that persists, and when we reload the page it will still show us the same data. For that, every browser today has an API called localStorage, and it's pretty simple. It has 2 methods, actually 3. So one is clear, which I want to use now, so because there was some other information in there. The other one is localStorage set item, which we will use, for example, contacts. This is the key, and then the value will be like our contacts data here. And now I can do localStorage get item contacts, and it will give me my string back. Now if I reload the page and I do get item, it will still be there. So this is exactly what we want. Now we don't want to store a string, instead we want to store an array, right? So let's say our contacts will look something like this. Contacts is an array of objects. So let's say the first one will be, let's just copy what you already have in HTML. Will be Charlie, the name, and the contact will be charlie@example.com, and the node is, let me just copy this from here. So this is our first object. Now I just copy this as a base for the second one, which is for Sam. Sam tweets, and Sam is Charlie's partner. Okay, so I have an array now with 2 objects. Now how do I store this in localStorage? I cannot simply do localStorage set item contacts and then just put in the contacts, because if I do get item now, I get object, 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 which is the same as if I would do contacts to string. And the reason for this is local storage cannot store objects, it can only store strings. Luckily, there is another API that every browser has today, which allows us to stringify objects and also to parse strings back into objects. And these methods are JSON stringify. So for example, if I would stringify an array with just a 1, I will get a string with brackets around. And then the other method is JSON parse, to which I would pass a string, like the one we got from above, and now I actually get an array. So I can just show it, I can store it in a variable, and now I have array length and array, the first item is 1. Okay, so what we want is JSON stringify our contacts, right? And then store this in local storage. So we have, where did we do that? Set items, JSON stringify contacts. And now we can reload the page, we can do local storage, get item, contacts. We get the string, but we want the actual array, so we do JSON parse. And now we have our array back. So this is basically how it will work. Every time we add something, we update our array and we store it to the local storage. And initially we just load them all. So let's do that. Okay. So first of all, this is maybe let's put it on top. I want to load our contacts as we had it in the browser, local storage, get item, contacts, and we wrap it in a JSON parse. And so now we have the variable. Every time we reload the page, I now have context which is stored. Now, a little tricky part is that if this item, if we would have no data, let's for example say local storage get foo. It returns null. I mean, so there's a possibility in the first time we load it that it returns null. So just to simulate it without losing our data, I just put like foo in here, and now we get, or actually we don't. I thought we would get, interesting. I thought we would get an issue. But nevertheless, context is null. What we want is to have it an empty array, right? So what we do is we add a fallback. So if get item is falsy, so in case it's null, it will be falsy. We want to return an empty array like this. So if I reload now, context is now an empty array. Okay, so I change it back to contacts. So our contact should be back. Okay. Now I want to render these contacts. So we do contacts for each function contact, and kind of like maybe this one. Let's say, you know what? This is actually pretty good. Okay. So it's pretty similar. So we create our row. Maybe let's call it row like we do it in other places as well. Like this, okay. And then we set the inner HTML, but instead of name, it's now contact name. Because we have the object. And this is contact. Well, contact. And this one is contact node. And then we append it to our table. So if we reload the page now, we see them double because they're already hard-coded, which we now can simply remove. Cool. So let's say we have our contacts, and the first contact name is Charlie. Let's rename Charlie to Felix for whatever reason. And now we update our local storage. So we do local storage, set item, contacts, JSON string effect contacts. If we reload the page now, we have Felix. Okay, so far so good. Now let's update our contacts. Okay, so what we can do is, I will simply, never mind. So when we submit and we append a new row, we now want to store it. So we now have contacts. We push a new contact with only a name because the other values are empty, right? And then we say JSON stringify contacts and store this in local storage, set item contacts, JSON stringify contacts. This should be right. Okay. So let's say foo, reload the page, and there we go. Our foo is here. We don't want the undefined though. Instead, we want to have the dash if no value is set. So what we can do is in here, we can say, we can set the fallback. Okay, that is nicer. Let's do the delete next. Right now, if I delete it, they will still be there. Okay, so we go to our action down here. If action is, where are we? Delete. So this is interesting because how do we know which item we just deleted? So there could be, we could kind of find out what index the row is in the current table and so on, and I kind of use the same index to remove the item at the index of the array and so on. But yeah, it sounds complicated because it is. Instead, what we want to do is we want to generate a random ID. And I hope I get this still together, but I think there is a nice little trick to get a random ID. So for one, we can do math random. It just gives us numbers, but if we do to string 36, it gives us all kind of characters, and then we, I think, can do something like substring. So we start at 2, and then go until 7. No, we go first. Okay, I mean an ID of length 7. This should be good enough. Okay, so up here when we store our where we store our name, we now also want to store our ID. Cool. And this ID we then want to render. And we want to add it to our table rows. So what we want to do here is so we do row data set ID with contact ID. Let's see how that works. Okay, obviously these three, the existing ones, don't have it. But if I add another contact and now look at the HTML, I should see, okay, data undefined here. This one doesn't have it because we added it dynamically. But if I reload the page, it now has our ID. Perfect. Okay, I think at this point it would make sense to delete existing data because it doesn't have IDs and it's just the simplest way to do it. Okay, so what we've seen, the problem was when we created, we didn't attach the ID here. So what we want to do is instead use a variable and then data set ID. Okay, so now if I say foo, oops, there's an error. Data set is not a function. Oh, ID equals ID. Okay, so now if I create a contact, the data ID is set right here. Great. So if I delete it, I want to delete it from our contacts. And the way we can do this is to get our ID. Data set ID. And then we do, I have to think how to do it. Okay, so we kind of override our contacts with the filter function. And we want to filter all our contacts so that all contacts but the one who has the same ID as the one we want to delete will be returned, which means we should return true if the contact ID is not our ID. Okay, and then again we have to save it here. Okay, that should work. Delete it, reload the page, it's still gone. Let's try a few more. I only delete one, reload the page, perfect, and it's gone. So the same way we want to do with the submit now. With the update now. Sorry, I'm getting all funky here. So this is cancel here. So we will need the ID again. So what I will do is I will actually move the logic to get the ID here because you will need it more than once. And then we do contacts map, and then I don't know if this is the most efficient way, but so contacts map, we have to return the properties. So, and if the contact ID is the ID that we are looking for, then we want to update the current. Actually we don't need, because we can edit our object directly. So, and because the contact is passed in by reference and I change it, it means that the object in the array will be changed as well. So the ID remains the same, and then we do contact name as name, and then for the other one, this is contact, and this is note. And then again we need to save it. Okay, let's see how this works. Check 1, 2, save. Oh, did not work. Let's see. Let me put a debugger here to see what we are doing wrong. Well, I am doing wrong. I think this is wrong. This shouldn't go, shouldn't have been a problem anyway, but okay. Let me put the debugger here. Okay. So now we have our debugger there. So the contact ID is our current ID, so that is fine. Let's increase this a little. Oops. See a little more. Okay. So contact name has been updated, and in theory our contacts array is updated as well. So, okay, now I really broke something. When we get this error, then it means that our local storage get item contact is no longer, you see, a valid JSON, because it's a string undefined, which is totally wrong. So first, let's clear it, and now let's see what could have done wrong. So it might have been that the set item was in there. I don't know. I actually have no other idea right now. So let's just add 2, reload the page. That works. Rename it, save it. Okay. Let's see. I added the debugger here. Oh, I know. You know, we don't do the map anymore, so we don't, shouldn't set our contacts anymore. So because it's now overriding it directly, and contacts for each always returns undefined. Sorry. Okay, just to be sure, clear it, and now if I add and edit, it has another issue. Converting a circular structure to JSON. At what line? Okay. Let's see. So that still works. Let's see what happens now. Let me make this a little bigger here. So what do we have in contacts? Contacts has one array. Contacts, the first contact has also a contact. Oh, okay. We have to, okay. We have to rename this, let's say like contact item. You see, because here the property has the same name, so it sets the contact to itself, which is the circular issue that we have seen. Alright, now I can remove this. Now it should be really fine. Okay, let's make this bigger again. Edit, bar, save, reload. Perfect. Delete, reload, foo bar bars. Perfect. I can change this again to Charlie. Charlie tweets. Charlie is super awesome. And save. And I think this is it for part 2. Everything is stored in local storage. Now when we go to part 3, I will also go and refactor our code a little bit to make it simpler to understand.